Hey, what's going on, AP people? We have a video for you today on Native Americans in the late 19th century. Lots of important information to know about Native Americans during this time period, so let's get going. All right, we're going to start off going back in time a little bit to the relocation of natives. And it really began with the Louisiana Purchase, but especially in the 1830s, natives were pushed further and further west. And this is seen in the Indian Removal Act and the Trail of Tears. The Indian Removal Act happened under President Andrew Jackson, and the Trail of Tears, the actual forced removal of the natives, took place under President Martin Van Buren. Now, we're going to talk about a group of Native Americans today called the Plains Indians. And look at the map here, and you'll notice that they pretty much are to the Colorado Rockies over to the Mississippi River, and a lot in the northern part of this area, especially in the Dakotas. The Plains Indians were many different tribes of Native Americans, and they predominantly hunted buffalo. They made their livelihood off of buffalo for food and for fur as well. And one thing we'll see is their land and lifestyle was changed due to expansion. As white Americans began to push further and further west, Native Americans' lives will be drastically altered. Okay, when we're talking about Native Americans during this time period, you absolutely positively have to know this book, A Century of Dishonor. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I would be shocked if it's not on your AP exam. It is written by this woman, Helen Hunt Jackson, and the purpose or the message of this book is that she discussed the relationship between the U.S. government and Native Americans. And in this book, she talked about how the natives were harshly treated and were often deceived by the government. So this is a chronicle, 100-year chronicle of the mistreatment of Native Americans. Okay, in 1887, we have one of the most, if not the most famous acts as it relates to Native Americans, and this is known as the Dawes Act. And the purpose of this act was to assimilate Native Americans, and you'll see that word assimilate a lot. You'll see with Native Americans and with immigrants. And what that word means is basically to make a group of people Americans. And in this case, they also wanted to eliminate Native culture. And if you look at this picture here, you see many different Native Americans dressed as Americans would. So they kind of give up their tribal clothing in exchange for quote-unquote American clothing. So the provisions of the act, native tribes were dissolved, and heads of families would receive 160 acres of land. Just like the Homestead Act, which dealt with 160 acres of land, the Dawes Act did as well. So native tribes were essentially dissolved, and then families were thrown on 160 acres of land. So that will take them from a nomadic lifestyle of hunting the buffalo to essentially be farmers. So what's the impact of this? Well, many Native American children were sent to boarding schools and were forced to be educated as American children would. Native Americans' lives were changed again from hunting to farming on this 160 acres, and most of the natives' land was lost during this time. You'll see a newspaper out here selling a lot of this former Native American land. Also, there was a push to have Native Americans give up their religions in favor of Christianity. Okay, we're going to talk about some Native American conflicts now, and we have the Sioux Wars, which were a series of wars throughout the second half of the 19th century with the Sioux tribe. The Battle of Little Bighorn, which is also known as Custer's Last Stand, occurs in 1876, in which Lieutenant Colonel Custer and his men were killed, and here is a painting depicting that battle. The Nez Perce War was a war involving the Nez Perce and Chief Joseph, and he and his tribe try to flee to Canada, and they are caught just before reaching the Canadian border. Okay, you need to understand the ghost dance as well when we're talking about Native Americans, and here's a picture of the ghost dance. So what was it? Well, it was a religious movement by Native Americans, and as a result of this ritual, there were different visions, and many Native Americans hoped to see the return of buffalo and the elimination of whites. Remember, the buffalo was nearly extinct. At one point, there was less than 1,000 buffalo living in the country due to the hunting of them by whites. Many Americans were afraid of the dance, and the U.S. government orders an end to it, and this helps lead to the Battle of Wounded Knee. And this is one of the final conflicts between American soldiers and natives, and the U.S. military wanted to stop the ghost dance, and about 300 natives were killed, most of which were women and children. All right, that's everything you need to know about Native Americans in the late 19th century. I hope this video helped. If you could take a moment and subscribe to my channel if you have not already, please help me spread the word. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good day, guys.